Hello there, welcome along to this episode of the Business Roundup. I'm your new host, Joram Ssonko, but obviously not the new face. First, let's have a look at the highlights. The Budget Committee tasks Ministry of Finance to identify ghost workers as per the audit report. Federation of Small and Medium Enterprises wants tax concerns amicably addressed. The local players in the animal feed sector are pushing for a government decree on export of raw materials. And on the regional scene, Central Corridor countries concerned about impact of conflicts on trade. Now, let's get right on to it. On to our first story. The Parliamentary Committee on Budget has tasked the Ministry of Finance to produce documents that indicate areas where they discovered ghost workers were paid 294 billion shillings as per the Auditor General's report.
The Budget Committee of Parliament has engaged with different government ministries to review and approve their requests for supplementary expenditure under Schedule Number 2 for the fiscal year 2023-2024. Among the requests considered is 9.156 billion by the Uganda Police for compensating officers affected by the Kampala flyover project, providing alternative accommodation for affected families. Additionally, the committee has approved a 3 billion shilling request from the Ministry of Gender for Matters Day celebrations.
National Organizing Committee, in recognition of the fact that yes, it's true, the Muslims have matters too, they have a place in Namugongo, the assumption was that these resources should go towards their commemoration to the event, because the event of commemoration of 50 years of Muslim Supreme Council requires the 1.8 you are seeing. Yes. So they said we are giving only 200 for purposes of commemoration of Martyrs' Day, not for the Muslim Supreme Council.
However, some members of Parliament expressed dissatisfaction with allocation criteria, particularly concerning different faiths, such as Muslims, and their allocation to Kira municipality.
To the Muslim site, the request is 1.8. Only 200 is provided. For the rest, 1 to 2, you can see substantially something is given.
How do we place all these allocations on the consumptive part? And we don't place resources in developing the infrastructure, the beauty, and the amiability of Kira municipality.
Give them money, and I don't care whether it is 1, they asked for 1.8. Please, this money should go to Namugongo Mosque, the same way it is going to Nebi and Midwestern Uganda.
Furthermore, committee members were hesitant to approve the Ministry of Finance's request for 125.8 billion for wages, pensions and gratuity.
We knew at the conclusion of last financial year that actually there was 125 billion saved as a result of the report of the Auditor General. Why is this money being brought now as if you have discovered it last week?
Recruited people because of that moratorium, and then you are calling it savings at the expense of service delivery. So is that how government is going to operate, that you tell people don't recruit so that wages remain, then you call it a savings?
And the Auditor General found ghosts. Very many ghosts to the tune of 200 billion?
94.
Yes.
294.
So is this money still going to pay ghosts? 125, going to pay some ghosts?
Minister for Finance in charge of general duties, Henry Musasizi, clarified that the request aims to facilitate staff already in their positions and not for new recruitments.
It revealed a number of things. There were some areas where staff were not existent and were on payroll. The payroll was being used on staff who were not in post.
So you say those areas, Minister, you make clear. Mention those areas and flash.
The total funding for the supplementary expenditure is 1.1 trillion shillings. However, members discovered an additional 6.5 billion shillings, which the minister disowned. This discovery sparked a debate, leading to some members to propose halting the consideration of the document.
0.5 billion, which the minister says is EU budget support. Is this 6.5 part of the 1.1 trillion?
With the document, he signed on each and every page. And he says just disregard 1, disregard 2, disregard 3. Yet this document was laid before a parliament. And it can only be withdrawn and an authentic one laid before a parliament. So the motion I move is that we hold consideration of this fictitious document until an authentic.
Another questionable supplementary request is the 578.4 billion shillings to support strategic pharmaceutical industrial investment, which accounts for almost a half of the supplementary expenditure for 2023-2024. I'm Navka Farida and Daniel Gemwa in Munyonyo.
Moving on. The Federation of Small and Medium Enterprises has hailed President Museveni for intervening in the traders and URA impasse that had resulted to a 4-day business closure. We had a one-on-one with John Walugembe, the Executive Director of the FSMEs. Check this out. A pleasure having you. Looking into the traders going on strike last week, one would ask of what impact did it have on our economy and on the traders themselves?
Okay, first of all, we need to look at what motivated the strike. There were a number of issues. One was the IFRI solution. The traders felt that there was limited education. They felt there was high-handedness in rolling out that solution. They felt there was a certain level of unfairness. They felt there was a targeting sometimes of people who are not within the VAT bracket. So that was the first issue. There was the issue of the VAT threshold. They thought it should go up. There was the issue of the 35% import duty on fabrics and garments. There was the issue of investors and the fact that they dominate the value chain by manufacturing, wholesaling, retailing, and doing all these things. So these were the core issues that were raised by the traders. These are issues that are not new, and the traders have engaged the Commissioner General of URA, the Ministry of Finance, and so on. But I think at this point they felt there was not much traction taking place, and they went on strike. The first strike was declared on the 8th, and then the second one was on the 16th. It's the 16th one that was had a very big impact, I would say, on trading activities in Kampala and a few towns.
And looking forward with the various, discussions that were had with the traders, the dialogue and all that, in your opinion, what do you think should be the best way for traders to deal with the issues at hand?
I think it's not just traders. I think not just traders, by the way. I think the business community. Not everyone can do what the traders did. The manufacturers, if the manufacturers did what the traders did, it would be catastrophic. But I think government needs to establish a mechanism for dealing with the private sector. What this shows is that the current mechanism is not fit for purpose. They need to respect more the traders associations. They need to listen to them more. They need to be responsive. When certain issues have been raised, they need to be able to come up with viable solutions, not ignore them and just continue what they intend to do. So I would say that the fact that there was a strike should be an indictment both on the traders and on the officials that are charged with managing this economy. So going forward, we need to relook at the mechanism for addressing such concerns to ensure that the economy is not hurt and individual business people do not suffer. Yeah.
And of what importance was the president accepting to meet the traders, and what does it mean to the traders or to even the Ugandans out there?
No, I think the president was very magnanimous. As you know, the president has a tight schedule. You don't just wake up and demand to meet him, but he was willing to and flexible enough to meet them, and not just for a few minutes, but he was able to give them time from about 3 p.m. to 1 a.m., listening them out, fine-tuning, trying to appreciate the understanding of issues, trying to prioritize what are the most important issues, and in the end, in his judgment, he was able to see that this issue of IFRIs, and not IFRIs as a whole, but the penalties, the unfair penalties, was at the core of this issue, and he suspended them, thankfully. and that has led to the shops reopening. So I would say that also public officials need to be able to be patient, need to be patient to dialogue. They shouldn't only have meetings with business people and traders to push their agenda and to load over them. They should know that all these are critical stakeholders in this economy, and they sometimes need to be listened to. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, solidarity is one of the things that you could look at and see that the traders showcased during the entire strike. Many issues at hand, the threshold of VAT that the traders feel should be increased to 1 billion Ugandan shillings. And not only that, many of the traders felt like the enrollment of IFRIs was quite untimely, and they feel Uganda Revenue Authority needs to do further sensitization moving forward. The meeting with the president resulted into the reopening of the shops, but then the question is, what will be the final verdict after the president is done with other consultations? I am Joram Ssonko for the UBC Business Roundup. Away from that, Ugandan Animal Feeds Association is collaborating with UNRIT's Feed and Biofuel to strengthen the animal feed sector. In an exclusive interview with the Business Wrap, the two entities called for government support in their quest to substitute imports. Let's have a look.
In military terms, they say collateral damage when it's a heavy damage. So when you're calling out for ban, of course, it's impossible to ban exporting of such raw materials. But it's a cry out we're making. However, in that cry out, we're also crying out to our own government. Put for us raw material policies. But also, while we're asking for the raw material policies, enable us to procure the right machineries so we can add on value that is going to help increase the job creation in the nation. And then we'll be exporting the products that are finished or semi-finished. So it is impossible to ban out or say we cannot work with our fellow
brothers.
Like
grain, for example. And I know Uganda, we expect a lot of grain to countries like Kenya.
Kenya, South Sudan, to Rwanda, to Burundi, to Congo sometimes when it is needed. But the main request, what we're asking is, can we change the way things are being done? Can we change the formulas? Can government enable people to have now the right mechanism for import substitution? For the last few months, nearly a year or more, we've been talking about the Ukraine-Russia war. Today we are hearing Palestine-Israel war, the Suez Canal closure, increasing the prices of importation. His Excellency one time said, we should be ready because these countries that we're working with, one day they'll be having their own issues and there will be no one there to save us.
Yes, that is true.
And that's why our PSST, Mr. Gorobi, made a very good writing on import substitution. It's a very good writing he made, which talks about the fact that we have to look on how we can have import substitution. And these great thinkers from the Western world have thought about it. Today, we're having companies, I'm not going to mention names, but people know them, who are opening their factories right here in Uganda because they're following the trend where the money is. They're following where the raw material is because they know that in the near future, to export raw materials from Uganda through Kenya, through all the waters, through to their ship, to their warehouses where they'll be doing the transformation, it's going to be hard.
Of course, now to Anthony Muturi. So just bring us up to speed on how you come into this conversation and how are you going to help the players in this sector?
So along the value chain, what we call from farm to fork. So basically from the farmer who is growing the grain or the ingredients, the raw material that you need to produce animal feed, which needs to be added value that ends up being converted to the feed that is fed to the animal that ends up on your plate. We play where you are turning this valuable raw material into feed for the animal. Yeah. So whether it's somebody producing chicken feed, fish feed, I don't know whether there are people producing pet food in Uganda as such.
I've seen a lot of pet food is imported.
Yes, it's actually imported.
Surprisingly,
yes. But the technology to produce pet food is available.
Okay.
So we've come in to say that with the lobbying that the membership of UGAFMA is trying to engage with government, that we've got, one, the ability to disseminate know-how on processes, one, to offer training in terms of what is the correct technology to use. For those who have already acquired this technology in the past, because there are feed mills existing in Uganda.
In Uganda, yeah, sure.
That we can be able to up-tool. What we call up-tooling is you can get better equipment. Okay, if you are using rudimentary or very basic equipment, that you can upscale that equipment, up-tool that equipment to the right standard, to be able to produce the right quality feed. And for those who are already established in the industry, we are saying you have now a second alternative as a supplier in terms of looking for complete plant solutions in that sector. But also the industry is also looking for support in terms of customer service and in terms of wear and spare parts. You find a lot of customers in Uganda, they do not know where they can get genuine, original manufacturer parts, and we are there to fill that position. Yeah, that gap.
All right.
So I'm appealing to you, the father of the nation. Please, as you've done the job with the coffee industry, kindly do the same thing in the animal feed sector. Let us give value addition on our raw materials. Let us use the parish development model to empower youth to be able to go back to the village, go into farming, have factories, and then we add value to things we're exporting. Because it is possible here in Uganda. So now that we've been waiting for the right machinery, since the raw materials we have, let us sit back, go on the drawing board, and change the way we've been thinking, and we find a way to put solution to feed this growing youthful population to have in Uganda.
Actually, thank you so much for being part of the show, and definitely we are in this journey together.
And thank you again, Dennis, for continuity.
Let's talk matters banking. The banking institutions have appealed to URA to ensure that its different initiatives to foster trust between banks and the taxpayers. This was during the 7th Annual Appreciation Banking Conference held in Kampala. In another development, the clergy has urged the taxman to be considerate on its economic situation as it exercises its mandate. Have a look.
Uganda's banking sector has been hailed by the taxman for compliance and willingness to adopt new technologies. This was during the 7th Annual Appreciation Bank Conference held at the Sheraton Hotel, Kampala.
We appreciate this sector, we value them, and we normally meet every year to appreciate that kind of support. You saw a moment ago that we are giving awards to those who fulfill the terms in our condition, like remitting the monies they transfer on time, like sending that money without any errors so that it's very direct to allocate and trace who has paid this money, and so on and so forth.
The remarks come in light of the recent standoff between the traders and Uganda Revenue Authority on tax matters.
Wherever we've tried to use technology as maybe complicated to understand initially as it appears, like IFRIS, we have found improvement in tax declaration tenfold. So that shows you that there is so much room for improvement, and it is time for us to join hands in embracing technology to solve some of these challenges.
Several bankers were recognized for their compliance and support in several categories. According to the banking sector players, their sector is very supervised to conform to rules and regulations compared to other sectors of the economy.
And as per this character of the banking sector, we are always fast in adopting technology and contributing our bit for the progress and prosperity of the country, the Republic of Uganda.
This year's event was on the theme Financial Technology Trends and Financial Inclusion for Enhanced Tax Compliance and Transformation for Uganda's Economy. In another development, URA staff and organization have contributed 18.8 million shillings towards the Martyrs' Day celebrations slated for June 3rd. This was at a staff mass at the URA headquarters conducted by His Lordship, Right Reverend Raphael Wokorach, Bishop-elect Gulu Diocese.
And URA has been generous with us. We are very grateful. We are very grateful for the contributions you have given. And as always, we say that no money is useless. Every money counts and is important for us. We shall use it according to the budget that is set, and the committee working on that, I believe they're doing an incredible job.
This has been our norm, as you may have heard. We last did this with the Fort Portal Diocese, which organized some celebrations some years ago. Now that NEBI is organizing, we decided to come together as the Yore Catholic community to be part of this noble cause as we remember the Uganda matters.
Reverend Wokorach highlighted the importance of taxation and the role of the tax body to Uganda's social and economic aspirations.
Even the work group, the business group and all that, I think the cry is genuine. Now, the changes you are bringing in whatever it is, which I have not understood, maybe the question to ask is it going to help the government to get more so that people may get a better service and improve their resources? Or are we just taking the little they have, then what are they left with?
Maureen Babidi and Dennis Sigoa for the Business Roundup.
Elsewhere, on the regional scene, the Central Corridor member countries have appealed for peace and harmony in order to enhance their trade relationships. Representatives from Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Zambia, Malawi and Tanzania congregated to deliberate on strategies for regional collaboration. Have a look.
The Stakeholders Consultative Committee meeting, a cornerstone of the Central Corridor Transit Transport Facilitation Agency's operations, validates the corridor's work programs and offers insight into priority projects and needs of member countries.
This meeting, we do it annually, once per year. Usually it is between March and April of each year. We should do it in March or April because after the deliberation, the validation of the report, we take that deliberations, we as a secretariat, and we bring it to the decisional organ of the Central Corridor, which are the Board of Directors the Board of Directors and the Interstate Council of Ministers, in order to get the policies and the guidance to sort out the challenges on the ground.
Advocate Florio Kanju, the Executive Secretary of CCTTFA, emphasized the significance of this gathering, particularly in light of prevailing conflicts that pose challenges to maritime trade logistics.
You know, we are in the world, and if you see today, there is this war between Israel and Palestine, and now in the Red Sea, there is that issue of Houthis. Possibly this can affect, and I'm sure that this affect the global, the worldwide business in generally.
Despite these obstacles, Benjamin Bimbi, the chairperson of STACON, expressed confidence in the corridor's resilience. This optimism was echoed by Mawa Watson, the head of delegation from Uganda.
You might find that the demand on this side on certain commodity is lower compared to the other side in the supply and the vice versa. So is the presence of business is bringing people together in order to trade off. So by doing the trade, automatically that you may find that you are speaking one language, and automatically that you may find that people are living together, happy, and they are communicating in good terms. Because if we are not communicating, you cannot do business. It's without interactions.
Without the existence of an agency like the Central Corridor, that would mean that partner states would have no harmonized institutions or policies which can facilitate trade.
Key recommendations include enhanced port improvement, harmonization of road user charges among member states, and engagement with multilateral partners by the Secretariat to provide technical and financial support to Lake Tanganyika ports grappling with rising water levels. As preparations for the upcoming Council of Ministers meeting in June gain momentum, the resolve to overcome challenges and pursue collaborative solutions remains steadfast. Dennis Igoa for the Business Roundup.
Really pay tribute to our brothers and sisters from Tanzania. We are working on an alternative route for the petroleum products into Uganda. We want to be safe. The Tanzanian route is going to be developed. While we are watching the support from Kenya, as UNOC received the certificate to do the trading, we are also still working with Tanzania. And I would like to call upon our brothers from Kenya to really hold our hands as UNOC to make sure that beginning June, UNOC brings in the products in Uganda herself.
In March this year, we signed a contract giving the ECOP the authority to use about 75 hectares of land and giving them the right to use the water, which was owned by the Tanzania Port Authority. We are also giving them concessions on using our ports. Up to now, we have handled about 80,000 joints of pipes with a length of 18 meters of each pipe. But the length of overall, the pipe is about 300 kilometers.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Business Roundup. However, as we are signing out, we are reminding the parents to involve their children who are back for holidays to get involved in productive activities. And to the children, we wish you happy holidays. Till next week, keep it UBC. I've been your host, Joram Ssonko.